Many people seek knowledge because their intention is some form of gain that will come from the knowledge. Rarely does anyone seek to educate themselves as a means unto its own end, as an end unto itself. They're looking for a route, looking for a plan, looking for a blueprint, a set of instructions, guidance, direction, the keys to the universe, the answers to the questions. And why are these answers sought? They're sought for gain. They're sought for you to accrue reward. They're sought so that there is an addition to our lives. You'd be surprised at how much of life in this illusion is actually a game of subtraction. Not a game of gain, but a game of subtraction. Not addition, not multiplication. Oh, you hear a lot of accelerated growth, exponential growth, multitudinous growth. All these buzzwords. But you'd be shocked, you'd be surprised at how much better you would do if you played the game of subtraction. And when I say subtraction, what do I mean? So there's a lot of undue persuasion, undue influence, undue temptation in this world that will lead you down a path where you think you're adding to your life. You're adding entertainment. You're adding pleasure. You're adding what is essentially ephemeral gratification on things that will add nothing really to your life, so-called life, in this false reality, in this illusion, in this hallucination, in this mirage. Whilst if you were to subtract the and this is the mystery of the real gain. If you were to simply subtract the undue influence, the undue persuasion, the undue temptation, the undue indulgences, the luring, the comforts, the luxuries that we soak ourselves in, the pleasure seeking, the hedonism, the gluttony that we are absolutely besotted in, that we are drowning in, well, then we'd see some real gains, because subtraction is the real gain. Because the way to true subtraction, and again, this is the conundrum, this is the riddle, this is the mystery. To perform the right type of subtraction, you have to add the right type of gain. So what is it? Because when you crowd out the bad with the good, you're expunging, extinguishing, and cleansing the negative from your life. So that's the game of subtraction I like to play. I don't like to subtract for the sake of subtraction. I don't like to feel pain for the sake of pain. I look to add these workouts to crowd out the pain of weakness, the pain of vulnerability, the pain of ill health and disease, the pain of not being able to connect with Yahushua HaMashiach. Because when I train, when I work out, I have the ultimate connection to the eternal transmission, to the 365 broadcast that's emanating at all hours, never ending, always present. All you got to do, Just turn the dial to the right frequency and it hits you like a thunderbolt. You get the revelation, you get the epiphanies, you get the instructions, the real instructions, not the instructions of the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the lying scribes. Woe to you Pharisees, woe to you lying scribes, to the false prophets, the fake holy men, the rabbis and priests and fathers and gurus and magi and illusionists that are really wolves in sheep's clothing, the ones that don all the ornaments of holiness, all the uniforms of holiness, seeking the esteem of men, but not glorifying and giving esteem to Yahuwah, the Most High. Those that worship with their lips, not with their hearts, who we do not need to understand Hamashiach or Yahuwah, because Yahuwah and Hamashiach, the Messiah, they live within us. They're right here. And that's why that signal is ready, willing, and able for you to receive it at a moment's notice. The minute you ask, you receive. And by receiving that transmission, by doing these workouts, by eating Yahuwah's food, single ingredient, unprocessed, foods that are not toxic, that are not man-made, that are not manufactured with all the preservatives and the chemicals and poisons that we put in these things for everything from shelf life to stability, to texture, to flavor, all the things we do, to coloring, the coloring of the food, all of these things that the food scientists do in order to attract us and to fool our sense of smell, to fool our sight, to fool our taste buds into thinking we're eating something that is nutritious. And although it tastes good, it is wrecking your health. So by adding the fruits, the right vegetables, the right meats, the right single ingredient foods to our lives, we are crowding out the bad. And in that manner, we have a positive subtraction from our lives. That's the type of subtraction I like to do. And I was saying at the beginning of this message about how we always seek a path. We always seek knowledge. We always seek education. We always seek, this might not be formal education. A lot of people seeking that formal education, college degrees, MBAs, PhDs, going through all these different levels of conventional education. But there's so much education you could do without going through that system. All you got to do is pick up a book and read. All you got to do is get an audio book and listen. There is more, the availability of building our minds and nourishing our souls is so at our fingertips today that it really is in your hands. It really is. Your education is in your hands. And better yet, if you surrender completely to Yahusha, the Most High and the Son of the Most High, the same, all the same. The Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart Spirit, all three in one. Yahuwah, the Most High, He who breathes life, He who brings into existence, He who creates, the Son of the Most High, the perfect Lamb of the Most High. Yahusha, He, the Most High, who saves, the Most High, who delivers, the Most High, who redeems, and the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart Spirit, all the same, all three in one. And that, in surrendering, you will receive more knowledge, more education, more epiphanies, more revelations, more instruction, more blueprints than you ever could have imagined, because in surrendering completely and asking for His guidance on how to live your life in a manner that pleases Him most, you're going to be magnetized. You're going to be pulled towards, and you're going to be compelled to nourish your soul with the good news of the kingdom of Yahuwah, with the good news, with the gospel, with the words, the parables, the phrases, and the insights of the ages. We're not the first to occupy this planet. Right? We've been here before, we've done it, we've seen it, we've been through it all, we've got the t-shirt, we've received all the trophies, we've received all the accolades, we've made all the mistakes. The problem is we keep making them over, we keep repeating the same cycles. We keep moving through the same grooves on the vinyl record. never removing ourselves from the hamster wheel, from the treadmill that never ends. Always searching, always seeking, always looking for answers, never understanding why. Never understanding why we're unhappy, why we're unfulfilled, why we're not grateful, why we're not thankful for the simple things, for the things that we have. We're always clawing, scratching, cannibalizing, fighting, arguing, overpowering, claiming dominion over our fellow man for scraps, forevermore. And it's never enough. Even when you think you've made it and you get to the top of the mountain you thought was the peak that you were shooting for, even when you've accomplished that target that you set for yourself, you get to that peak and for a moment you're like super happy. And then it all evaporates and you realize you're just at the bottom of the next mountain. The top of every mountain is really the bottom of another because it never ends. Because you're never gratified, you're never satisfied, you're never fulfilled, always wanting, always needing more, always longing, always hungering, always thirsting until you drink from his water, his living water, such that you never thirst again. From the moment you eat of the bread of life, you will never go hungry. And you will nourish your spirit with his life, with the stories of all of his actions, of everything he went through, of all of the insights, all of the philosophy, all of the preaching, all of the tools that he's given us, the new covenant, the gospel, the good news of the kingdom of Yahuwah, and the commandments, and the single most important commandment, of which everything else springs from, of which all of the knowledge you will ever need and more springs from, which is to love Yahuwah with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Because if you do that, you're going to follow his commandments. How could you not? Because you love him with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. So you will feel a conviction and a compellingness, a pull to honor him by following his commandments. And then in loving your fellow man as you love yourself, this all encompasses the core that all insight will ever be drawn from. Because again, in loving yourself as you love your neighbor and loving your neighbor as you love yourself, what are you doing? You're nurturing yourself so that you can nurture your neighbor. You're building yourself up so you can build your neighbor up. You're encouraging, you're motivating, you're inspiring yourself so that you can motivate and encourage and inspire others. And so this circle, everything is all encompassed in Yahuwah Yahusha, and all the knowledge you'll ever need, you'll seek out. You'll seek out things that are positive, no longer negative. You'll look for information that builds your mind, that builds your heart, that builds your spirit, that builds your soul. You will no longer waste your time with the worst forms of knowledge, with the worst forms of entertainment, with the worst forms of distraction that do nothing more than wreck your soul, break your heart, and tear you to pieces over time, that weaken you. Because that's what the demons of this world want. That's what the haters, the psychic vampires, the negative influencers, the detractors, the corruptors, the evildoers, the misleaders, the deceivers, they want nothing more than for you to be in misery. And they don't come to you as misery. They don't come to you as hatred. They don't come to you ugly and horrific like a horror movie. They come to you in the most beautiful, seductive forms. They promise you everything. They promise you happiness. They promise you riches. They promise you wealth. They promise you knowledge. They promise you the keys to the universe. If only you sacrifice small bits of yourself to them, which over time becomes everything you have to them, which over time becomes your soul. You sell your soul to these so-called gateways to the answers so that you could somehow find the solution to everything, to life itself. What does it all mean? They say they've got the answers, but you're paying for it. You're indebted to them. And ultimately, the ultimate indebtedness is to Yahuwah, because what you do on this earth count. And if you barter your heart, your soul, your spirit, your mind, and your body, if you yoke it all to the Pharisees of this world, to the demons of this world, who only want to see you die unto them so they might live, because misery loves company. They want to see you torn to pieces, rendered asunder. They want to see you broken apart. That is their happiness. Whilst Yahusha, manifested himself in the flesh on this earth, walked among us, saw the evil, saw the good in us, and decided once and forever that we were worth saving, that we were worth redemption, that we were worth deliverance into his kingdom. Once and forever should we do the most simplest of things? Receive him as our deliverer. Love him with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. Believe in him with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, such that we wear the armor of Yahuwah, and we become impervious to the slings, the arrows, the decadence and defilement of the evil ones of this planet, because in all faith to Yahuwah, we wear the armor. And when we surrender completely, first we confess, we repent to Yahuwah Yahusha. We admit, because now we're not repenting in any false manner. No, when we finally get to a place where the longing is too much for us to take, where the searching is too much for us to take, where the breaking of our hearts are just too much, where we can't take it anymore, and we finally realize there must be a better way, and that all of a sudden it strikes us, we know, we see others who have been saved, or we get struck with the lightning bolt clear out of the blue, whatever it is, the tragedy, the hardship, the addictions, whatever you've been suffering, finally gets to a point where you can't take it any longer, and you finally ask him to come into your life. That's what it usually takes. That's where it usually, right there, that is the Damascene moment. That's where Yahusha, Hamashiach, that's where Yahuwah is calling you to him. He's calling you home. In that moment, it is right there where you take hold of that light. You ask him to come into your life. And when you ask, you receive. You receive more than you've ever imagined. All the answers you've ever looked for, all is revealed to you and more, such that your heart runneth over, your cup runneth over, your bounty runneth over, and you have to share. You have to share the good news. You're compelled to, because you have too much of it. You have to do something with it. Besides elevate yourself, you all of a sudden realize what it all means, what the new covenant means, what the ultimate commandment means. Not just to live your life as if this is your last day. Not just to live your truth. It's his truth, not your truth. Not just to live your best life, not just to live your life like it counts, not just to sacrifice it all because you can't take it with you, not just to party till you drop because this is the only life you have. Not all of these stories that push you, not all these inspirations and motivations and influences that push you to live every moment like it's your last. No. They have it backwards. That's assuming your reward and your treasure is here in cheap thrills, cheap highs, and cheap titillation. Nothing could be further from the truth. We store up our wealth in the kingdom of Yahuwah. We store up our treasure in the kingdom of Yahuwah. We store up our riches in the kingdom of Yahuwah. This life is a test. This life is a test to see who, in the face of all that temptation, in the face of all that indulgence, in the face of all that evil and sin, in the face of all of that luxury and comfort, in the face of all of the ephemeral riches and wealth of this planet, in the face of decadence and depravity, in the face of defilement and debasement, in the face of indulgences and temptations, in the face of it all, that we realize that in walking that path, we are indebted to the illusionists and magi and the deceivers of this world, who, as I said, only want to see you in the long run fail so that they can win. Because they tell you, oh, the pie's not, they tell you it's, hey, there's not enough pie for everybody, right? And so, you got to get what you got to get while the getting's good. Gobble up as much of that pie as you possibly can. It's lonely at the top. All of these phrases pushing you to be selfish, pushing you to be self-gratifying, pushing you to crowd out everyone else and only fill your life with self-pride, self-righteousness, self-purpose, all self. Only to realize that you crowd everyone out, including Yahusha, and your heart grows cold and hard so that you can weather the storm of this world and all of its heartbreak, all of its misery, all of its decadence and depravity. You harden your heart and you escape it. You escape it through drugs, you escape it through alcohol, you escape it through all forms of entertainment. So you don't have to think about the evil you're committing. You don't have to think about how you're sacrificing yourself. You don't have to think about how you're selling your own soul for just a moment, a measure's worth of hedonistic pleasure-seeking and gluttony. When all the peace you could ever seek, all the answers you could ever find, all of the content, satisfaction, gratefulness, and thankfulness that you could ever imagine is found in not conquering, but in surrendering. Surrendering to Yahuwah Yahusha, and in so doing, you will receive all of the revelations, all of the epiphanies, all of the knowledge, and it will motivate you, inspire you. Because the redemption you receive, and getting on your knees, and finally, you get to that point, as I was saying before, you get to that Damascene moment, that Damascus road, that moment where you're hit with it, where all of the suffering, you've had enough of it, with all the longing and the thirsting and the hungering, you've had enough of it. All of the seeking and the searching and never getting the answers, all of the broken hearts, all of the selling of your soul, all of the frustration and anxiety, you've had enough of it. And you finally get to that moment where you're on your knees and you realize who you've been, what you were, and how you tethered yourself, you chained yourself, you binded yourself to these evil people, these wayward teachers, these negative influencers who never had your best interests at heart. They came to you in disguise. You didn't know they were a negative influencer, but you yoke yourself to these people, and you finally realize that in so doing, you have to take responsibility for letting this world, this illusion, this mirage, and the evil that this world is soaked and steeped in influence you, such that you became corrupt, such that you became defiled, such that you were depraved. And when I say you, I say me, because I was there. And then you realize who you were, and you repel. You are repelled by it. You are ashamed for it. You feel the guilt for everything you've been, everything you were, everything you did. And that's what brings you to your knees. That's what brings you to Yahushua HaMashiach. And you confess. You pour your heart out to Yahusha, but he listens. And in that moment, when you ask for his salvation, you are redeemed. And the burden that lifts off you is like nothing you will ever imagine or experience until you go through this catharsis. And then you're on your knees because you're receiving so much. You're receiving it all. You're more than you could ever imagine. You're receiving it. And your cup will run over. All is being revealed to you. And as that's happening, you are realizing, and by the way, this might happen all at once, but it's a journey. Every day you'll go through this process. Every day you'll go through this catharsis. Every day you'll go through this nourishing. Every day you'll go through this experience, because in so doing, you are born anew every day. And that is a cleansing experience and a redemptive experience that cannot be described. I certainly cannot do the words that I can give you will never do it justice until you experience it. But at that moment, as you're receiving all of this, the epiphanies, the revelations, the wisdom, the knowledge, all of it in small bits sometimes and in great chunks and lightning bolts. But as that's happening, you're praying on how grateful you are for the first time in your life. How truly grateful. Not all these gurus who tell you got to have a gratefulness practice. What hogwash, a thankfulness practice. A practice, a ritual, another ceremony where it's not heartfelt, only lip spoken. No, thank you. When you go through this catharsis, when you go through this process with no man, with no Pharisee's guidebook, without the manuals of the lying scribes. No. When you go through this personal journey with Yahushua HaMashiach and you're receiving your redemption, and then you finally feel what true thankfulness is. Being truly grateful for all that you have, because you have more than you ever imagined in that redemption. And your heart is made righteous. And then you can, at that point, then you're on the journey. Then you're on the pilgrimage. Then you're on the righteous path. Then your heart is righteous. And now you're on the road to the kingdom of Yahuwah. and you have all the peace and solace you'd ever ask for. You are as content as you could ever imagine because you're seeking Yahuwah, you're seeking the kingdom of Yah, and you know you're on the righteous path, you know you're on the road, you know you are filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, you feel alive for the first time in your life. Your heart was dead, your soul was dead, it was filled with concrete, but now you're experiencing the living law that's written on your heart, not the dead law that's written on stone, that only reveals sin, corruption, decadence, and penance, but the law that's written on your heart, the new covenant, the gospel, the good news. He who lives within us is everlasting life. It reveals truth. It reveals the way. It reveals salvation. It reveals the true life, the way, the truth, and life. It reveals the Word, for He is the Word. In the beginning there was the Word was with Yahuwah, the Word was Yahuwah, and the Word was made flesh, and Yahuwah, Yahusha, HaMashiach is the Word made flesh. And He lived among us, and He sacrificed everything so we could have this moment, so that we could have this conversation with Him, so that we could have this deliverance from being yoked and chained to this illusion, never having that fulfillment, never being in paradise, never, ever being cast out from the Father and from Eden forever, that longing, that hole, that canyon in your heart that is there only because we're separated from the Father. Now you know the Father once and forever. And that wound, that gaping Grand Canyon of a wound in your heart and your soul is healed. And you know the Father once and forever. And you're forgiven. And you will have everlasting love, everlasting peace, everlasting joy, everlasting healing, and everlasting life in the kingdom of Yahuwah, and where Yahusha lives again, walks among us once again, and where we can love, honor, worship, praise, and glorify Him with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength in a manner that pleases Him most, because once again we are made perfect. Once again we are in Eden. Once again we are in paradise. We are in the kingdom of Yahuwah. And we know eternal salvation, but it begins now. It begins now. You feel that now. You feel that love. You feel that healing. You feel that energy. You feel that motivation. You feel that inspiration. You feel what you've always been searching for. You find it. You find it. And here's the thing about the knowledge that you used to seek, that was only for gain, as Paul alludes to in his letter to Timothy. He warns him of those who see righteousness as a means to gain, and that the righteousness that brings contentment is the gain, because righteousness gives you that contentment. It gives you that fulfillment that you've been missing. It heals your heart. It heals your soul. And you realize how thankful and grateful you are for this redemption, for this salvation, for your deliverance, and for that righteous heart that you now have, such that you can walk this path. Therein is your gain. That righteousness, it isn't a means to get anywhere. The righteousness is the gain. The salvation is the gain. The redemption is the gain. The deliverance is the gain. The justification, the justified heart is the gain. The sanctified heart is the gain. You finally have everything you need and more. Again, no matter how many words, no matter how many messages I ever give you, it will be nothing compared to the understanding that you have once you go through this catharsis. And so if anything I am saying is hitting that tone, hitting that note, tapping into that frequency, if you're feeling what I'm saying, that's Yahuwah Yahusha calling out to you. It's not me. He's speaking through me. The Ruach HaKodesh is speaking through me to you, to wake you up, to call you to arms, to bring you with me on this path, so we're united, no longer divided, because they cannot sow hatred among us, the children of Yahuwah. They cannot pit brother against brother, sister against sister, for those of us that are in Yahuwah. For in this life, in this temptation. In this false illusion, we are weak. Our bodies are weak. Our minds are weak. Our wills are weak. Our spirits are weak. But in Yahuwah, we are strong. So because we wear his armor, the armor of Yahuwah, which is the faith in Yahuwah, such that the negative influencers, the demons, the evil ones, and the corruptors and misleaders of this world, their slings and arrows, their persuasion, we are impervious to it. We are impenetrable. They cannot touch us any longer. And the Ruach HaKodesh, which animates us, you see me motivated, you see me inspired, you see me alive, because I am powered by the Ruach HaKodesh, such that when we are filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, the set-apart spirit of Yahuwah, of Yahushua HaMashiach, the energy that it gives off dissolves the darkness. It dissolves the evil ones. It dissolves the negative influence, such that we can walk this path of truth. We can walk the way, the life with Yahusha. Just absolutely obliterating all the negative energy, the negative influence, and the wayward, chaotic influence of the darkness of this world. It just evaporates, for he is the light of this world, such that the darkness cannot comprehend, the darkness cannot fathom it, and the darkness cannot overcome it, such that when the light of Yahuwah smashes into the darkness dissipates. It dissolves, it is no more, and we walk truly in the light that shines down on us and heals us in all ways, the light that erupts within us, the Ruach HaKodesh, and the light that it is like an infinite number of rays that burst forth within us and absolutely shine throughout the world, such that others who are lost, others who are now where we once were, that they can see. They finally can see and they can hear for the first time ever, and they can know, truly know, such that that knowledge will lead them to righteousness and redemption. And they will have that gain once and forever, such that if a wretch like me can be saved, then so can you, then so can they. And that light that's bursting forth, it's like a searchlight, it's like a beacon in the fog to all those ships that are lost out at sea. Finally, they can see, wait a second, there is light. There is a way, there is a truth, there is a life, because if that broken soul can be healed, then so can they. And then that same light that I'm speaking of, it beams down, it brightens, it shines on the path to the kingdom of Yahuwah, the kingdom to come, where there is no more pain or suffering, war or misery, there is no more murder or death, no more illness or disease, no more hatred or sadness, there is no more frustration or anxiety, no more depression or despair, no more deceit or deception, decadence or depravity, defilement or debasement. There's no more Lucifer demons. There's no more evil ones. They're all crushed beneath the feet of Yahuwah Yahusha. There is no more corruptors, evildoers, misleaders, deceivers, psychic vampires, negative influencers, haters, detractors. They are all evaporated in his presence in the kingdom to come. There's only everlasting joy, everlasting life, everlasting peace, everlasting love, everlasting healing. And that path that we now walk, filled with that gain, filled with that righteous heart, filled with that life, filled with that motivation and inspiration, wearing the armor of Yah, animated by the set-apart spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, wielding that sword and wearing the helmet of salvation. We walk true and with purpose because we see it. It's emblazoned. The trail is emblazoned. It is lit up. It is bright and shiny, so we know how to walk it. And the Ruach HaKodesh that lives within us guides us. We ask Yahusha for his guidance to live our life in a manner that pleases him most. And so we stay true on that path. We might make mistakes. We might fall. But instantly, we are raised back up. And we walk every day in our catharsis, every day in our prayers, every day as we undergo this healing, this experience, this gratefulness, this confession, this surrendering every single day. He delivers. He delivers the epiphanies. He delivers the revelations. He shows us how to live our lives, how to live our life in a manner that pleases him most, such that no matter how we fall, no matter how we err, no matter how many mistakes we make, we are instantly risen back up, born again anew, and placed back on the righteous path, such that should we stray in any way, we know it immediately and we move right back onto that path, feeling his love, feeling his healing, feeling his energy. True and strong, and we march now. We march. Join me. Join me. As I said, they cannot divide us any longer. We walk as children of Yahuwah, unstoppable, undeniable, unassailable, unconquerable, undefeatable, righteous, righteous. We move with power and grace. We move with his glory. We move in Yahuwah as we speed, as we soar, as we move like a freight train to the kingdom to come.